Hello, Amber Williamson from Clarksburg, West Virginia. Welcome back to Your Own World USA. Thanks for coming back. And our last video that we did, the first one, was very successful. A lot of people really like it. Really resonates with them. And tell me, after we did that last show, what started happening in your sky?
Well, I started noticing a lot of haze and a lot of chemtrails. Um, for a long time, I wasn't really able to do a video after that because
Uh-huh.
I have been actually looking for Nibiru now.
Huh?
Um, and yeah, just a lot of chemtrails, a lot of haze. Um, Nothing has been quite as clear as it was before.
Mm.
Before the video.
Yeah. Well, wonder why. Um, but the first time you saw it with your own eyes, and it's tough for people. I mean, particularly debunkers, it's like they hate eyewitnesses, because otherwise they can get into UFOs and all other kinds of nonsense. But when somebody says, "Hey, I saw it with my own eyes," and folks were seeing Planet X objects in London on the 16th. I call it Ophelia Day, and the media said it was a Star Wars Tatooine, two suns in the sky phenomena. They mock and they trivialize, but I caught BBC in an outright lie. Yeah, most hurricanes start in the Azores, but the one that hit the British Isles actually came from a cold front in the Atlantic. It was an oddball. So I don't know how something that originates in the northern Atlantic from a cold front is going to be able to swoop up Sahara dust. Uh, imagine, if you will, nobody questions it. They just go, "Oh, gee, that's kind of cool." But we have several videos here, and while the skies have not been as good for you in viewing since we did our first video, we've cherry picked some of the ones that you've submitted, and I think here you really started taking a different tack with your camera.
Well, I've learned a couple of things. I don't know. Well, I discovered a new function on my phone, the auto exposure, autofocus function.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long it's been there. I only recently discovered it. It's allowed me to see it's allowed me to see through the haze.
Right.
So.
Well, that's good. In that path of discovery, I did look up on your camera for the iPhone 7, and it's quite remarkable. It's a 4K camera. That's a lot of resolution. I mean, I can remember in the early days when we were going 480 pixels. Whoa, And here you are, you're doing 4K like the big screen TVs at Costco. Yippee-ki-yay, cowgirl. And so with that, let's get into, I'm going to start sharing my screen. I have a bunch of these videos up, and then let's just start talking about them. Here we are. Now I'm sharing my screen. Let me kind of move things around a little bit for myself. And let's start with 9/12/2017. And this one is interesting in the sense that, man, the haze is huge. I mean, this is really, is this what your sky used to look like before the first video that we did?
No. I mean, yeah, you've seen the clouds.
Yeah.
In there, but the haze was not like this before, and the sun was so much clearer. But yeah, the haze that you're seeing in those videos,
Right.
that's typical of what I'm seeing from day to day.
Wow. So this is what's happened to your skies.
Yeah.
It's like they've targeted you.
Now, earlier in the mornings, it's not necessarily like that.
Uh-huh.
You can see the blue, and some clouds here and there, but I've you know I've sat outside and actually watched the planes, seeing
Mm-hmm.
that, and I've actually started when I go places. I'm always looking
Mm-hmm.
at uh, see what I can see, and
Right.
so, but by afternoon, like late afternoon, mid to late afternoon, that haze it's every day pretty much.
Yeah. And here were you putting on the glasses here with this? The
Yeah, in that video, I was using the eclipse glasses.
Okay. And I remember doing an analysis on that. Let me bring up my, because you were a little unsure if you got it or not. And when I did my analysis, looked at it, the haze was covering it, but you got it. You got the object where we're always spotting it right up in this area here. So even with the haze, it was still, you were still able to punch through the haze. I think that's important. Uh, the is that your cat,
That's Henry Doodles.
Henry Dingle?
Doodle.
Oh, okay. He's your co-observer.
Yeah.
There you go. And there's your Oregon.com. All
Yeah.
right. So here's your eclipse viewing glasses. And I remember we used those the first time around. Now let's go to the 16th. Let me put that off to the side. And I thought from the 16th, there was an interesting relationship between haze, zoom, and exposure. You can see it here in this far away. I mean, the haze is definitely perceptible. That's not a clear blue sky. It's a blue hazy sky. You can particularly see the haze when you're down here looking at the tree line.
There are
Yeah.
days the sky it's white. You can't necessarily see clouds,
Mm-hmm.
but the sky just looks white. There's so much haze.
And here, once you're going in, and the camera's really, what I notice here is the camera's really struggling. Now, this was the part of this video that I thought was the most interesting on the 16th, because you're in straight auto exposure, autofocus mode, and exposure meters are going to typically be center weighted. They'll get the whole exposure for the entire frame, but they're going to give a lot more emphasis to the center. And once the camera is able to actually, you can see here, the camera is able to start getting a handle on the focus, and it's then also getting a handle on the exposure. And you don't see, what's really important is you don't have a tree line down here. This is what really throws the light meter for a loop. You have this tree line down here. These are very dark, and then you have very sun. So you have two huge extremes, Amber, in this. And whereas once you zoom in, you don't have the two extremes. You just have sun, sky, and the objects.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it's still really popping through.
And when, like right there, when you just
Uh-huh.
when you show the sun right there, and you see all those rays coming off the sun, before our last video, usually
Mm-hmm.
when I try to video the sun, it would be so much clearer. But
Right.
with all the haze, if you take that, what you're seeing there right now, and you magnify it 100-fold, just it's so much. It's just really, really bright, and you
Wow.
can't see. You know it's the sun, you know it's there, but it's just so bright.
Right.
And I assume it's, because of all the haze, and it's been hard getting through that.
Yeah, yeah, but this is a testament to iPhone 7. I mean, this camera, it's a very robust camera. It's much better than smartphones from the 5 and 6 generations, and those are problematic. Those phones have a lot of false positive issues on stills because they were transitory. I remember the series 4th generation phones. They were, nice, stable phones. But once they're evolving, it was different. 7, this camera is really, really, I mean, this is some amazing stuff iPhone that is doing now. So here we go. I think that right there that's what you're talking about.
What I see,
Yeah.
usually I'm trying to video, that's what I see, and I can't cut through that.
Wow. But even still the same, you can just start to make it out up here.
Yeah.
So I remember and let me just cut off, we'll share a screen for a second and just kind of talk about it. I remember that you and I discussed this one at length, and I had some people, particularly debunkers, were always going, put your thumb or a finger in front of the sun and then you'll know if it's real. There's this guy called Dazza the cameraman, what an insufferable jerk. And my personal opinion, I mean, the guy's he's either a paid operative or he's a tool or an asset of a paid operative. And it's the only reason why he does his insanity. But he's got this finger in front thing, and you and I talked about it. So you went out, you tried it, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So let me share our screen again. Let's go back to that. And now here we are on the 28th, and this is the finger in front of the sun. Were you cutting notches out of your finger that day?
No, no, I wasn't.
Okay, so then I don't have to worry. You're not from some planet where people heal instantly. Okay. All right. Let's go back here and
in Prestonsburg, Kentucky. So
now this is you're in a graveyard. Is this near your home or in a different area?
This is in Prestonsburg, Kentucky. This is about roughly 4 hours from where I live. Okay.
Wow. So is it about the same elevation?
That I don't know. I know my sister lives near here, and her elevation is, I believe, 613 feet, whereas mine is 1,173 feet.
Okay. So enough of a difference for government work. And we're seeing it there. We see it coming in. But, we were really, it was interesting when I was looking at this, and right in this little area right here. And I'm going, okay, so is Dazza the jerk man, is this kudos to him, or is this just a debunker scam? Because there it looks like his little debunking nonsense works and you don't see anything. So at that point, I went ahead and did some image analysis on it to take a closer look. So I extracted the frames. And here we go. Here's one frame that I took it off so I could run a gamma analysis. And I was particularly trying to understand why we have this going on where the finger is being, well, I mean, it looks like you just cut a notch through it. But I went to the other frame, and this is the one where it appears that the object of interest disappears completely. But looking down here, if you look where that red arrow is, all right, and then I took a close-up of that, and this was the really interesting thing. You go back to here, and it looks like it's absolutely gone. It's disappeared. It's a real Houdini video. But here, what you see is there's the notch in the finger, and we're seeing this, we see this area that came up in the gamma analysis. Remember, we come back here, and here's the gamma analysis. We see that little sliver of light. But on here, you're seeing an object. You can actually see you see a planet with surface features. I mean, what does it look like to you, Amber?
It looks like a planet. You can see shadows. It has a rounded feature. It has shadows. It looks like a planet.
That's right. So that gets us to the next stage, where how to use an iPhone AEAF, automatic exposure, automatic focus lock for perfect focus and exposure. All right, let me take this down. And it was actually the haze and the viewing conditions were so bad you weren't able to see anything for quite some time, were you?
Nope.
All right. And I mean, 1017, this one here really illustrates. This is a video that you took on 1017. I kind of want to, let me just play this.
This video is also from Kentucky. This is Paintsville, Kentucky.
This is Paintsville, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a third location, and you're getting the same object.
Yeah.
So for the viewers, now that we are presenting this object from 3 different locations, and there you are. You love pointing at the reflections, the flares. But give us the 3 locations again, just so we state it in one place.
Okay, so Clarksburg, West Virginia, that's where I live. Prestonsburg, Kentucky, and Paintsville, Kentucky.
Okay, got it. So there we go. My gosh, look at the haze. That is so thick. Man, that's like thick as a carpet, and it's still punching through all the haze. I'm really impressed. Now let's go to 1022. And you know, when you sent me these yesterday, I said, okay, that's it. This is it. Now we got these. We need to go do something with it, because these are both of these videos. And what I want to do, it's kind of interesting. What you're seeing here, and you can see in both of them, you're able to make out the object at the 11 o'clock position, even with all the haze and the cloud cover. I'm going to take both of these, and I'm just going to start playing them from the beginning. This one is, and it's interesting because these are 2 different locations again, right?
Yes, 4 hours apart, roughly.
So this was the same day, 4 hours apart?
No. You clicked on the wrong one. The one on the left is Prestonsburg, Kentucky. I think you accidentally clicked on maybe the wrong video.
Oh, the wrong date?
Yeah, I think you clicked on the wrong video just now. Were you wanting to show both of the ones from yesterday side by side?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
There.
Right. That's one from yesterday. And that's one from yesterday. These are the 2 that you sent me from yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay, because I made them A and B. So let me come back here because this is pretty interesting. There you got the finger. Let's start this again. And this time, uh, what we see with the sun is, I mean, the flare, the glare, it's really difficult. It's a mush to make something out of it. Tell me, is this the point where you started the autofocus and got the camera zoomed in on it?
Exactly. I was trying to zoom in and I accidentally turned on the auto exposure autofocus function. I
Okay.
didn't, but I had that feature.
All
I don't
right.
know if the phone has had it. Maybe it's had it this whole time. I'm not sure.
Right.
But when I used that, I was able to cut through that haze.
And what I really liked was the fact that you changed the orientation on the camera and the object goes right around with it. And that's for the viewers, just watch that. Watch this. I'm gonna play that back and forth a little bit. So for those of you who are going, well, that can't happen, you have to remember that this object of interest is fixed in space relative to the sun. Just because somebody on Earth changes their camera from landscape to portrait doesn't mean that the sun and anything around it's going to say, well, let's just flip on our side as well. They're going to stay where they're at, which is what you see this thing doing. And it's just so interesting as you progress through and you see the camera, there's a steady track. This thing, there is absolutely no unsteadiness, nothing. And it just really holds with the zoom. I think the second one that you did is equally interesting. Again, I like you point to the flares, and they're always dancing around. They're usually blue, and they typically do the hoochie coochie. Here we're, the haze, the chemtrails. This is really making it look miserable. You can't tell anything. But boom, you just now went into automatic mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So walk us from this point through as this is playing.
Well, I think the second video here, this is after I had discovered that the auto exposure autofocus function. So of course I was doing it on purpose. And, basically I was recreating the same video that I had previously did.
Right.
Because if well, the sun starts, I have to do these videos before 5:50 p.m. because by 5:50 it's usually too close to the horizon. It's usually, gone down. So I wanted to try to do a few videos before that cutoff time. And so both of the videos are pretty much the same. I think that the second video is a little clearer, maybe.
I would agree. I think, once you narrowed it down, there we go. Again, it's so interesting for me to watch because if you have, for the viewers, you see that these blue dots here, and that's what reflections are. I call them cold objects. You're never going to see them pop up in a gamma analysis. It's the fastest way to get rid of them with a gamma analysis because they're cold. These little blue dots are actually happening in the camera lens itself or just right in front of it. That's where these flares and other aberrations happen. But to me, what was interesting was watching the fluid motion because you can see the flares and how they bounce around when you turn the camera orientation. But the object of interest above the sun till it's 11 o'clock, and as you are actually tilting the camera from portrait to landscape, you're flipping the camera on its side. it just scrolls with it smoothly. So I'm going to play that again. And all through that movement, the object of interest maintains its exact position relationship with the sun. So, what are you going to do next?
I'm going to keep looking.
All right.
I'm going to try to recruit some people too. Actually, I have a couple people. I'm always telling them, you know, you should look. You should see what you can see. And they don't have iPhones.
Uh-huh.
And they've actually tried to do a few videos to see if they could see what I'm seeing, because I'm sharing this with them as well.
Right.
And they haven't been able to see what I see. So,
but they don't have an iPhone 7.
Don't have an iPhone 7. They're at different elevations, different states.
Uh-huh.
You know.
But this is something where, you know, there's digital signal processing. That's what people don't understand about smartphones in general, is that a smartphone, if you have a regular camera, particularly like the old 35 millimeters, you can control aperture, which is how much light's coming in, and focus. So you could zoom in on whatever, you know, focus in on whatever you want. And with a smartphone camera, these things are so tiny, they don't have that ability. They don't have zoom, manual zoom built into them. And they don't have an iris where you can set aperture. And so all of this is done through image processing that's built into the camera. It's a function of software. And that is trying to take an image that it'll set the focus, all right? It'll work the camera focus. But again, everything is just total image processing. And these images that you're doing now, frankly, is a result of you being in a place where you can see it, but also it's an iPhone 7 issue.
Yeah.
Quite impressive. Well, I wish you best of luck with recruiting.
Well, thank you.
Okay. And, you know, it takes guts to do that. It's no fun, you know, talking to people who look at you like you got too many eyes in your head.
They're used to me, you know. So.
All right. Well, let's keep tracking it.
Okay, I will do that.